I only read one book, but it's a good book, don't you know? I act the way I act because the good book tells me so. If I want to know how to be good, it's to the good book that I go. Because the good book is a book, and it is good, and it's a book.
Then continuing directly on from where the last chapter did leave off, where previously Joseph had hidden his magic cup of divination that did divine revealing plot twists within the sack of his younger brother Benjamin, so that his steward could stop and search his brethren, so that all could be brought back before him. The brethren did stand before Joseph, with the eldest of their number, Judah, pleading unto Joseph, though he did know us not that it was him, that the punishment that would befall the lad would be his burden, so that the lad may go free. And finally, Joseph could not refrain himself before them that stood by him, and he cried, Cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. And he wept aloud, and with great anguish and dramatic effect he did exclaim, No! And things around the room were crushed, and others did explode, and the dog did run away, and did hide under the sofa, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. And in a voice that the assembled brethren had not yet heard, Joseph said unto his brethren, Obi-Wan never told you what happened unto your brother Joseph. I am Joseph. Join me here in Egypt, for it is your destiny. Doth my father yet live? For together with him we can rule all Egypt as father and son. And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And when they did, Judah did point out that he had spent the last half of the previous chapter telling him all about his father, and how their father would die if his younger son Benjamin did leave his side. To which Joseph did point out that his youngest son Benjamin had indeed already left his side. So if what he had said was true, then surely his father must be dead, which was why he had asked him if their father was indeed still alive. And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. And the brethren did have to admit that though they did plan to sell him, he had in fact been sold into Egypt by a band of travelling Arabs, who had come upon him and found him, while they were yet discussing their plan. And Joseph did smile, for knowing what utter shits they could be, he did believe them not, and did say, Now, therefore, be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. And the brethren did look amongst themselves, and did at last realize that it was probably best if they did remain silent, as every time they did speak, they did get themselves in yet more trouble. So they did listen, as Joseph spake. For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in which there shall neither be earing nor harvest. And having witnessed the depth of his scheming, and the deviousness of his nature, his brethren did doubt not that Joseph could devise such a fiendish plan, that he would know its duration with such accuracy. And God sends me before you, to preserve you in a posterity in the earth, which, considering just how bad things had been going of late, admittedly was entirely what they had been expecting, possibly even before they had yet given up the ghost and passed on, and to save your lives by a great deliverance, which was the last outcome they did envisage. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God, and he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Since Joseph had either had a promotion since Pharaoh had made him his second in command, was talking camel droppings, or he was the kind of second in command that did require that his last name be Cheney. Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me, tarry not. And the brethren, who had by now travelled the 250-mile route between Egypt and their father's dwelling in Hebron, some 3 times by now, did groan at the thought of yet again going all the way home and back again once more. and completely missing the point, that though his brethren were indeed glad to see him, knowing now that their great misdeed against him had been forgiven by both Joseph and the Lord, and that the Lord had rewarded Joseph, they had thrown him down the well for a reason. He said, Thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me, thou and thy children, thy children's children, and thy flocks, and thy herds, and all that thou hast. And there will I nourish thee, for there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household, and all thou hast, come to poverty. And the change in the tone of his words were not lost on them, for the idea of sending foreign aid unto stricken parts of the world had not yet been invented, and so in those days those in desperate need were invited into more prosperous nations, even though in many years to come this practice would come to be forgotten, and fences would be erected to bar them, and lawmen would dress those caught climbing over the fence in pink, and hold them in prison camps before sending them back. And removing the last parts of his disguise, and screwing the mop-head back upon its handle, he said, Behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaketh unto you, and not my back passage. And ye shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that ye hath seen. And ye shall haste, and bring down my father hither. And they did look uneasily amongst themselves. And then Judah did approach unto Joseph, and quietly ask if they should mention the harlots, and the drink, and the drugs from the previous night before. And Joseph did say that he should only do so, if it would make his father join him in Egypt any faster. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck, and wept. And Benjamin wept upon his neck, and lo, it was a greatly moving scene, and from yonder emotional music did play. Moreover, he kissed all his brethren, and wept upon them, and after that his brethren talked with him, mainly about how, no matter how powerful in the land of Egypt he may be, if he did ever try kissing them using his tongue again, they would find a deeper well, and make sure it was full of water next time. And off away from them Levi did stand in a corner retching, as a nice man and woman did ask Benjamin to point unto various places on a doll that they had given him. And the fame thereof was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brethren are come. And it pleased Pharaoh well, and his servants. For though Pharaoh did leave the running of his country unto Joseph, he was not stupid enough to not keep a watchful eye over him. And as Joseph talked with his brethren, there was a melody that did call out from within his garments, and at its sounding he did retrieve his mobile phone and answer it, for it was Pharaoh calling unto him. And after discussing the father of Pharaoh thing that Joseph had mentioned unto his brethren earlier, Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Say unto thy brethren, This do ye, lade your beasts, and go. Get you unto the land of Canaan. And Joseph, who by now was jotting down notes, did nod. And take your father and your households, and come unto me, and I will give you the good of the land of Egypt, and ye shall eat the fat of the land. And all could see how, being the ruler of all the land of Egypt, as Joseph had told them he was, did work. And his brethren did snicker amongst themselves, as Joseph did put Pharaoh upon speakerphone, so that his brethren could hear him also. And to all present Pharaoh said, Now thou art commanded, this do ye, take you wagons out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father, and come, which was probably the last time in all of history when commanding the loading of Jewish women and children and old folks into wagons so that they could be taken somewhere would be seen as a good thing. Also, regard not your stuff, for the good of all the land of Egypt is yours. For surely it is a stereotype well known by all, that the only way to get a Hebrew to go somewhere and leave his stuff behind is if he doth surely know that there shall be much better stuff awaiting him when he doth arrive. And besides, had Pharaoh not done this, then Jacob would surely be the only man of his fathers to go into Egypt and not get rich. And because to do otherwise would be to look a gift horse in the mouth, the children of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons, according to the commandment of Pharaoh, and gave them provision for the way. To all of them he gave each man's changes of raiment, which did include a t-shirt with the words, "I went to Egypt and all I came back with was this stupid t-shirt," printed in hieroglyphics upon them. But to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver, and 5 changes of raiment, for he had not been with his brethren when they had thrown him down the well. And to his father he sent after this manner 10 asses laden with the good things of Egypt, and 10 she-asses laden with corn and bread and meat for his father by the way, presumably so that he could leave it all behind when he hurried unto Egypt, as Pharaoh had commanded. So he sent his brethren away, and once again they departed, and he said unto them, "See that ye fall not out by the way, given that I have so obviously treated one of thee very differently from the rest, giving the lad a great deal of money, and 5 sets of clothes, even though I do know how thee doth get jealous of such things. And we would want us not that thee should maybe happen to drop thy brother Benjamin down the nearest well because of it." And they went up out of Egypt, back on their way home yet again, once more past the spot where they had been stopped by Joseph's steward, and where their father's henchmen had met their end. And the lad did look, that he may find Tony amongst them, but there was no sign of him. And so they did continue, and came into the land of Canaan unto Jacob their father, and told him, saying, "Joseph is yet alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt." And Jacob's heart fainted, for he believed them not, for he had believed his sons all those years hence, when they did bring unto him Joseph's ripped clothing, and did insist that he had been carried off by hungry beasts. And it did occur not to any of his sons that they would now have quite a bit of explaining to do. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said unto them, aside from those that were said during the night of reckless debauchery. For on matters such as this, what doth happen in Egypt doth stay in Egypt, and none will be wiser as to why Egyptians doth walk that way. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived, as all doth surely know, that if the news that his son, whom he doth believe to have been killed in a most dreadful way, is alive and well, and the ruler of a neighbouring country, doth bringeth not joy to the heart of a Hebrew, several wagons full to bursting with stuff that need not be paid for surely will. And Israel said, "It is enough. Joseph my son is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die." And with this he did rip the sackcloth raiment that he did wear, and go running around the camp, scattering the chickens and frightening the sheep. And late at night, out in the desert, in a tent at the edge of an oasis, weary travellers and merchants did relax for the night, sharing wine and telling stories, while harlots did dance for their pleasure. And from outside did come a man amongst them, who was naked, so that all could see the many scars and injuries that he had borne. And the man did look at those that were assembled, and then did demand of one of them that he would give him his clothes, and his steed, and a great fight did break out. And the man did vanquish those that did strive against him, beating each in turn, finally pinning the last unto the pool table with his own sword, and those that did remain did flee. And when clothed once more, the man did go outside, where he did saddle his mount, and ride off into the night.